from TechnoBuffalo.com.
I'm on a Motorola Xoom, the new Google Android 3.0 powered tablet from Motorola and Verizon.
And I'm on an Apple iPad, the first iOS powered tablet from Apple.
And this
is Tablet Wars.
All right, so on the left we've got the Motorola Xoom for Verizon, just released, and let's get me off of that video off there. We already saw that. So there you go, Motorola Xoom for Verizon. On the right, the Apple iPad. Again, as mentioned at the top, we're all expecting a new iPad to be unveiled at the event on March 2nd, which is just about a day and a half from now. So, you know, we're gonna talk about things as they are, kind of mention a few things we'll expect from the new iPad. But basically the big difference is, you know, obviously the first main difference is you've got the operating system, Google Android 3.0 Honeycomb, kind of the first tablet optimized operating system, but based off of Android, and so the things that you know and love, or know and hate, or don't know about Android, all the widgets and the notifications, and the multiple home screens, and the ability to you know, get your notifications down there at the bottom that pop up when things are going on, and your ability to connect with all the Google services, and here you can add the shortcuts and the widgets and the live wallpapers and all that kind of stuff, and then all the Google services built in, as mentioned, you know, the voice search and the Maps functionality, and you know, all that good business, the integration with Google Accounts, email, you know, Gmail system, and calendars and contacts and everything. And then on the iPad you've got the Apple iOS. I'm probably going to see a new version of iOS coming at the event later this week as well, but basically kind of a more simplified way of doing things. You know, you have the multiple home screens, but you're limited just to icons and folders, no widgets, no live wallpapers, none of that kind of stuff. The notification system is really you know, just the same as on iPhone. You've got that dialog box that'll pop up and sort of stop everything. You don't have little pop-up widgets on the bottom, or the notifiers on the bottom status bar there that let you know when you have, you know, new messages and that kind of thing. You'll get you know, if you have a new mail or a new you know, App Store update or something like that, you'll get a little number, a little circle with a number. That's about it. Beyond the you know, the operating system differences, which, you know, we could and people have talked at length and fought over as though it was the Spanish Civil War or something, you know, we're not going to go too in depth with that right now, but those are the basic differences. Google Honeycomb 3.0 and iOS running here on the iPad. Physically, you've got a 10.1-inch widescreen form factor screen, so a 16:9 aspect ratio, 1200 by 800 resolution, gives you about 160 dots per inch. And then on the iPad, you've got a 9.7-inch display, 1024 by 768, so it's a 4:3 resolution, or 4:3 aspect ratio, not widescreen like the Xoom. And that's good for about 132 pixels per inch. So a larger, higher res and higher pixel density display on the Xoom. In my using, I've had the Xoom for only about 4 days now, so don't take this as a full-on, you know, total review, but I've had it long enough to have a pretty good sense of what I think about it. In my using it, I prefer the Xoom's form factor. I prefer the widescreen aspect ratio, but I think the iPad actually has a better screen, and the touchscreen is more sensitive. The iPad's been out for a while. The operating system's been refined a little bit. They both work pretty well, but I've just found that the iPad just is more sensitive, and the screen just pops a little bit more. We'll get into that a little more in a minute here. Both tablets work in both landscape and horizontal orientation. And I find that with the form factors, the Xoom is actually a little bit better, both when you're looking at it in portrait mode. It's better for both two-handed typing and also for ebook reading. It's a little large for ebook reading in terms of, you know, one-handed use, or, you know, kind of holding it for a long period of time. But for two-thumb typing, a little bit easier here, and I'll show you the virtual keyboards in a minute. The iPad, a little more awkward with the 4:3 standard aspect ratio form factor. A little bit more awkward to do you know, a little wide for two-thumb typing, and not really wide enough in landscape mode for me to do kind of full-on touch typing. I find myself hunting and pecking with 2 index fingers instead of regular touch typing. The Zoom's a little bit better for that. But again, I'm going to stop myself because I'm not talking about the keywords just yet. We'll show you those in a minute. But form factor wise, I prefer the Xoom. Build quality wise, the iPad for sure. It is heavier. One thing that's nice about the Xoom, a little bit lighter, but the materials in the iPad are just nicer. It's better balanced. It feels like a more luxurious object. Like I said, the display is higher quality. The touch screen is more sensitive and accurate to me. And then kind of a weird thing with the Xoom, depending on how you're holding it, even though it is, you know, kind of a symmetrical design here with the kind of similar to the iPad with the curved back panel, kind of wider in the middle, and then it tapers out towards the ends. Because the Xoom has this separate panel up top where the camera and the speakers are and everything, it feels a little odd to me sometimes when I hold it this way, because I've got, you know, one hand, my left hand, the fingers are resting on that seam right there, where the seam is not perfectly flush, and then also the you know, kind of affects the taper, and the materials are slightly different. Whereas on the iPad, you know, it's continuous. It's that one piece metal back, and it's pretty much perfectly symmetrical no matter which way you hold it. So just a little bit. Sometimes when I'm holding the Xoom in you know, the portrait mode, it just feels a little bit odd to me on the back. It's not at all a deal breaker, just something that I've noticed. But you know, just build quality, again, overall, the iPad to me has the advantage, but the Xoom is actually, I think, a better form factor. And then also for widescreen video watching, you're natively in 10:9 mode here, or 16:9 mode rather. So if I go back to this video, you know, this is a high def video, 720p, and so it naturally fills the screen. Whereas on the iPad, if I go into videos here, go back to this video.
And I know
We don't need to hear me again. But naturally, we're not filling it. Naturally, you've got letterboxing at the top and bottom, and then you can stretch, but you're stretching, and so you're cropping out some of the side content. So, you know, Apple kind of explained why they did what they did, but still kind of, you know, it's, I don't know, I just, for both high-def video watching and for holding the phone the long way. The phone, I keep saying the phone, the tablet the long way. I think an advantage to the Xoom in terms of form factor. We mentioned, or I showed you briefly in this back panel where the cameras are. You know, one thing that the Xoom's got going for it that iPad doesn't, no cameras on the current iPad. The Xoom has a front-facing camera, and then also a rear 5-megapixel camera, dual LED flash, and HD video capture. Not the greatest cameras in the world on the Xoom, honestly. Motorola, their cameras are always kind of, you know, okay, but not amazing. And, you know, similar story here with the Xoom, but you can use it, you know, right out of the box. You can use it for GChat, Google Chat with video, G-Talk rather, Google Talk with video, which is great. Now, we're anticipating that the new iPad will have at least a front-facing camera for FaceTime, if not a rear-facing camera as well. But at least for the next day or two, you know, advantage to the Xoom for sure when it comes to cameras. I don't personally think that a lot of people are going to be using this as a camera a lot, because it's kind of unwieldy to hold this thing up to your face and take pictures, you know, with the rear camera. But it's cool that it has it. The front-facing camera, I think, more important, because I think video chat could just become a killer app in the next year or so, and tablets are perfect for video chat. And then, you know, if you are kind of on the go and you're in a pinch, you have a camera with you, and it's always nice to have that as opposed to not being able to capture the shot. Also, what I really like, seeing as I do so much video work for a living, is that there's a video app built in, you know, right out of the box with the Xoom. Hopefully something that Apple will counter with the version of iMovie for iPad. I'm fully expecting that with the new iPad myself. We'll see. But built right in, we've got this movie studio app. And pretty easy. I did kind of a goofy video there the other day. But pretty easy to, let's go new project. Oh, whoops, we'll go back. New project. Untitled is fine, I don't care. And we'll import some footage. And here's that movie I shot earlier. Oh, wrong file format. Oh well. So we'll go back, and this old one that I did the other day, and you've got, you know, you've got a video editor built right in. Pretty basic, but it works fairly well. It's got like a virtual, you know, these controls. Google's metaphor is a little bit different than Apple's, but, you know, you can edit, you can add, I don't think I have any music on the device here. Oh yeah, there's some that came with it, so we'll put in Put it BOB there, going back a couple of years. Does it have to render out? Yeah, it has to render out before it let me do it. But anyway, there's a camera shot. We'll use that one. We can only do one thing at a time. But you've got the ability to edit video on the fly, which is really kind of cool. At least, you know, in, there we go. And there, I made a terrible movie. But again, you know, just kind of neat that it has it because video editing, you know, for me personally, is something I do a lot and something I can't do on an iPad, so at least not yet. So that was kind of neat to see. Otherwise, get back to specs for a minute. We've got a 1 gigahertz Tegra 2 dual-core processor in the Xoom. Tegra 2 all over the place at CES and Mobile World Congress, all these dual-core phones and tablets running Android. And then Android 3.0 Honeycomb optimized for Tegra 2. So, you know, not a lot out of the box except for the 3D elements on the UI, some graphic acceleration in the UI, that kind of thing. We'll show you Google Maps real quick because Google Maps on Xoom is pretty neat. Search for Empire State Building. And so you've got, oh, Tate Building. What? Well, I don't know. Whatever. Doesn't matter. And the new 3D view. Kind of neato on the Xoom. You know, how much are you really going to use it? I don't know, but it's kind of cool. And again, with Google, you know, these technologies, you never know where they're going to wind up. I have to get kind of used to it, but you can kind of pan and tilt and stuff. And so a few things, you know, that take advantage of the dual-core processor now. I saw some gaming demos at Mobile World Congress of games that were optimized for the Tegra 2 chip running on a Xoom, actually, that looked very impressive. So we should see some stuff coming soon that takes more advantage of the dual-core processor. And then you've got, you know, the iPad. It's a single-core 1 gigahertz processor. We're expecting the next iPad to have, you know, to get a bump. Right now it's the single-core Apple A4. Rumors kicking around about a possible dual-core A9 in the iPad 2. Nobody knows for sure yet. But, you know, again, advantage hardware-wise to the Xoom right now. We'll see what Apple does to, you know, kind of bump things up in the next iPad. It's obviously not all about specs, but if you want to get into specs a little bit more, 1 gigabyte of RAM in the Xoom, 256 megs in the iPad. Video playback on the Xoom, it can do 1080p. The Tegra chip can do 1080p. On the iPad, you're limited to 720p. Video out, you can get the dock adapter for the iPad, VGA out, whereas the Xoom has a mini HDMI built right in, or micro HDMI, whatever they call it. You have to have a special cable, which is kind of annoying. Too bad they didn't put a full HDMI cable on there, but you know, that's just kind of how these things go, I guess. And then you've also got, may as well mention with the ports, you've got a USB 2.0 port, and then you've got a micro SD port, or SD card slot, but the slot is disabled right now, which is kind of weak. On the iPad, you know, typical Apple, you have nothing besides that one dot connector. You can get the camera connection kit that lets you use an SD card. You know, it's got an SD card reader to import videos and photos, but not, you know, straight up USB connectivity.